Oh, hey.
Hello.
Welcome to Freethought Forum. My name is Jen Flora,
And I'm Rick Wigton.
and tonight we are going to be talking about faith healing. And I want to encourage all of our callers, or all of our viewers, what am I saying? I'd like to encourage all of our viewers to call in on this one. Faith healing, this is a topic that I think that atheists and secular humanists and agnostics and even Christians can kind of get together on this one. And when we talk about some of the faith healers on the one end of the spectrum where they're not going to the hospital, you'll find people, Christians, Muslims, whatever, you'll find people from all these other religions saying, well, that's just crazy. So I really want to encourage you to call in. The number is up on your screen. Jot it down, give us a call, and we need to hear from you on what you think of faith healing.
It's really interesting, the whole thing about faith healing, because as you said, there's different extremes to it. You know, a lot of Christians will pray for somebody. I mean, it almost goes without, saying that they will pray if you're sick. When I was a Christian, people in the church would always do that. If you were sick in the hospital, they would come and they'd pray for you. But then there's the other extreme that says you shouldn't even go to the hospital.
Right, yeah. If you have a illness or whatever happens to you, people, sometimes they'll have one person called a faith healer that comes and prays over you. They're the special person. They're the one linked to God or linked to whoever, and they come and pray over the person that's sick.
Yeah, and anoint the oil, do that thing, the holy oil will help out.
And I think for what sparked us on to start researching this topic is a death of a 16-year-old. This young man was 16 and he died of appendicitis. In 21st century medicine, he died of appendicitis because he was not given proper medical attention. He was prayed.
Yeah, I have really strong issues about this, especially when it comes to children. I'm of the view, if you don't want to go to a doctor because you believe God will cure you and you think that's a lack of faith to go to a hospital, that's your decision. I mean, I think it's foolish, but it's your decision. But I really can't stand the whole idea of letting a child suffer. Because the child has no choice in the matter. You have an 8, 10, whatever age child who's suffering, and you're praying over that child, but the child is in pain and misery. The child doesn't have a voice in this.
That's right. And you know what? I would like to get started on that topic, but I want to really set this question out to our viewers, okay? And this really, are parents loving children to death, literally? This is something that, while we're discussing faith healing, think about this. Give us a call and tell us what you think. Should something be done about people who pray over children and don't get the medical attention? And hopefully we'll get someone to call in and we can really discuss that topic in depth. But first, let's kind of get into exactly what faith healing really is, from the least extreme that we talked about, from just praying over someone in a hospital, please cure me of my incurable disease, or please help me get better, and really they're just going to go through the normal process anyway, to this whole extreme. It's a big topic. Anne Gaylor, she is the mother of Annie Laurie Gaylor? All of a sudden her name just, I can't think of her name anymore.
What sequence does it go in?
But anyway, Anne Gaylor says, nothing fails like prayer. And I looked that up and I found a study that might actually, be a little bit of proof to that. Let's just say that. It's a study done by Harvard. And have you heard of this one?
I believe I have, yes.
And, well, just for our viewers, we'll let you know, group 1 in this study, these were people who were getting bypass surgery. So this is a pretty big surgery, and most likely you will have some kind of complications, and that's what they chose. Group 1 was told that they may or may not be prayed for, but they were going to be prayed for, Okay, so they don't know, but this is the group that's going to be prayed for. Group 2, they're not going to be prayed for, but they are told that they may or may not receive prayer.
Okay.
Group 3 is told they will receive prayer.
Okay.
And what happened in their study is 52% of group 1. Let me make sure I get this right. Complications occurred in 52% of those who received prayer. That's group 1.
Okay.
Okay, 51% of those who did not receive prayer had complications. That's group 2.
Very close.
And in group 3, the group that was told they would receive prayer, 59% of the patients were told they had complications. So,
Interesting.
yeah, what do you make of that?
It's hard to understand because you would think that if faith healing is real, that you would have much different results than that. That other people would have a much better recovery rates if the ones who were prayed for were healed, or at least got better, at least started to get better.
Right. I think we talked about this too, stress. What if this group that was prayed for felt, well, I have to get better now. I have to do, these people are expecting it now.
Yeah, I mean, I know what the feeling is like because I've had people do that for me. When you're in the hospital and stuff, and people will come in very well-meaning, saying, "I'm praying for you," or they'll put their hands on you and pray for you, and you're almost expected to get better. You feel bad about the whole idea that I don't feel any better. I still feel lousy, But I've done this. I've lied to people. They come back in. They say, "Well, how you feeling today?" And I say, "Oh, I'm feeling better." It doesn't matter if I am or not. It's like
exactly.
I'm feeling better because I don't want to be disappointed. You sort of said there, I feel terrible now. It's just like it seems to go against the grain to say that, even if it's true.
Right.
Because these people, they're so well-meaning. They want you to get better. They're convinced it's going to help you get better.
And I think it makes them feel like they're doing something
Right,
for you.
they're doing something for you.
Yeah, I don't have to come in and really see you in the hospital. I'm praying for you, and that's going to make it all better.
I've had people do that too. It's like someone who doesn't come and visit me.
But
they'll
they
say,
call you up.
Yeah, I'm praying for you. Or, oh, Sally told me to tell you that she's praying for you. It's like, okay.
Guess what?
That's great.
In the Catholic Church, it was very common at the end of Mass, we'd all pray for a bunch of people. And I always wondered, what ended up happening to these people?
It does make you wonder.
And some of them we prayed for, they had already died. And
Okay.
I met a woman. She was I can't remember what religion she was, but she cracked me up. She says, "Well, I don't understand this. Why do we pray for someone that's dead? They're dead." And
It'll help that transition. It really will. It'll just make it a lot smoother.
They'll move to a higher plane of existence.
Much easier.
And with this faith healing, when it goes to the extreme and people are suffering and dying, I think we were first introduced to this topic when people got snake bites and wouldn't go to the snake handlers, and they wouldn't go to the doctor, and you're thinking to yourself, what is this person, crazy? But now all of a sudden, with modern media and stuff, we're hearing about a lot more cases.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, go online, Google it, you will see a lot of people, mainly you'll see about children, because the parents are, like the parents of that 16-year-old, they got a year's probation.
Okay.
And they also have other kids. And a social worker came and said, well, they'll be safe in the home. And I said, well, of course they're going to be safe in the home until they get sick.
Yeah, it sort of stands to reason that these are loving parents, but at the same time, if their kids get sick, they're not going to take them to a doctor. So this gets a real complicated issue because, okay, these parents aren't going to take them to a doctor. As loving as they may be, they're not taking them to the doctor, which they could die. So do you declare them bad parents and have the kids taken away, which would be traumatic for the children, traumatic for the parents? Do you order the parents to have them go to a doctor, which would in turn probably violate their religious convictions, and they could take you to court for that? So where do you draw the line? How do you do that when you have some obviously loving parents who believe this? They believe this is what you should do. And
I'd like to say to my viewers, these are perfect questions. Give good time for you to call in and let us know what you think. What are your views on the subject? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What should we do? are these parents bad parents? Are they good parents? Do they deserve jail time?
So that's the thing, is that are these parents, and I don't think they're bad, I think they're more of delusional. They're just delusional. And as well-meaning as they may be, it's still wrong. It's still wrong to me that to let children suffer because of your religious beliefs. And to me, not to take the kids away sometimes would seem almost criminal, depending on what the parents are like. And if you have other kids who may be sick, like you know a child is not well in the family, so where do you draw that line? Where do you say, okay, we're taking the kids, or you order them, say, to, when your child gets sick, you will take the child to a doctor, and then how do you verify that?
Right, exactly. An interesting question was brought up, and this is for children or adults who are die by faith healing. Do they at any point in time say, please take me to the hospital? I can't take this. And if they say that, which we can't prove because they died.
Right.
We can't, but if they say that, is it murder? Isn't that murder if someone says, please take me to the hospital, and you deny their request?
I don't know. I think murder would be very hard to say it's murder. It would be the same situation if you walk along the road and see someone who's been hit by a car, and they say, help me, and you ignore them. I don't think legally, I don't know, maybe it's different in different states, but I don't think legally you are obliged to help somebody. So it may be the same thing with that, but it wouldn't be, at least in my opinion, it wouldn't be murder. It could be neglect. It could be, I'm not sure what all the legal things they could throw at you with that, but.
And just before we move on, for all our callers, I've been failing to give the phone number out. It's 717, what is that, 846-5067. Let me repeat that because I have a little bit of trouble reading it on the small screen, and I memorize it on a Tuesday to Tuesday basis. So it's 717-846-5067. Give us a call and help us contemplate this topic. Help us work through these. These are very difficult questions, I think. Because we come on this show often and say, you have your rights to your own body, and that's why I'm not touching faith healing when it comes to adults. Because we're always coming on this show saying you have a right to your own body, you have a right to this, you have a right to that, and now we come to faith healing and it's like, okay, wait a second. Now we got to take a step back and say, really? Are you crazy? All these medical advancements, and you're not seeking help. You're calling someone who supposedly has a direct communication with God, a God that you have not seen yet. You have not talked to this God. As far as I know, people have said, well, I've talked to God, and when you question them further, it was a very odd.
Yeah, does God answer back?
Yeah.
It's just more of a one-way conversation, because if you start hearing voices talking back to you, I think you may have some issues, but.
So they're talking to someone that they can't really verify.
Right.
And I'm sure for most faith healers, their clients probably usually die unless they have the flu or a cold, where, that can get pretty severe, pretty bad, and most people can recover from it, and they don't die. And it's like, wow, it works, you see, but it was just a cold that took its course a little worse than others.
It's like we had a cold, prayed, a week to 10 days later, they're cured.
Amazing.
It is amazing. How could you explain that other than God? A week to 10 days later, they're cured.
You know what? I really can't explain that.
What was kind of funny? This is a little aside. I was watching a program where they were talking about praying for rain in Texas. This preacher was talking to a news person or whatever, that they're praying for rain in Texas to end the drought. And they had all these people praying, and 6 months later, they had all this rain. It was like, okay, the fact that it actually rained 6 months later is not really verification. It's bound to happen eventually. But he was taking credit for it. It was like, okay, 6 months later it rained. Okay, and the drought was over.
It's interesting, because if coincidentally he did that and then it started raining,
Oh, that would have been something.
That would have been something. That would have been great.
I told you.
I told you I could do it.
I told you I could do it. Wait. Of course, it also helps to look at the weather forecast before you do that, too. So it's always,
It could,
chance
you
of
know what?
showers.
Yeah, it could help looking at the weather forecast, but if the weatherman said 80% of rain, I'm going to go with, yeah, I'll do my rain dance.
Yeah, that.
A 50% chance of rain, I might just say, it's going to come soon. Don't worry.
God willing.
God willing.
God willing.
And you know what? That brings me to a point.
Okay.
And callers, again, the number is 717-846-5067. Give us a call. Talk to us about faith healing. Talk to us about the children. And while you're picking up your phones, I have some interesting Bible verses to read off. And maybe this is why some of the faith healing doesn't work. Okay? Now, my first one comes from Matthew. Actually, they're all going to come from Matthew because I like the name Matthew.
Maybe Matthew was just very big on that. I don't know.
It could be. It could be. It says, Then Jesus answered, Woman, you have great faith. Your request is granted. And her daughter was healed from that very hour. That is from Matthew 15:28.
Okay.
So maybe some of the people who are praying are not of great faith.
That could very well be.
And
They may
that's
not
why
have
their
all that
request
faith.
is not, that's why it rained 6 months later.
Right. You had to believe.
Yes.
Yes, you
Well,
had to believe it.
and you know what? That brings me to my next one, the mustard seed.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he had the faith of a mustard seed. And in Matthew 17:20, he replied, Because you have so little faith, I tell you the truth. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, Move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you.
And think about that, a grain of a mustard seed, how tiny that is. If you have just that much faith, you can move a mountain, which would be an incredible event for anybody. I mean, why couldn't somebody say, I've never heard of a mountain moving.
I've never heard of a mountain moving either. And maybe because I don't even have the faith of a mustard seed, I don't know, I did it one time. I've never been able to move a mountain.
Maybe Pat Robertson could move a mountain. I mean, he does take credit for having, hurricanes being diverted. But a mountain, that would be, it's right out of the Bible. If the faith of a mustard seed, he could actually tell a mountain to move and it would move.
Yeah, I think a mountain because, hurricanes, the wind could have done it.
Yeah, they do that. They go weird directions and they tend to
They do
change
different
course.
things. But a mountain, there's just no denying, hey, I sat here, I had the faith of a mustard seed, and I moved the mountain.
Move the mountain.
And then maybe I might say, that Pat Robertson,
I'd be very impressed.
I would be.
I don't know, does that move far? I mean, mountains are huge, so you have to judge. If you move it a foot, does that count? Or,
Maybe just an inch or two, because I'm thinking if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you might need to let erosion do some work.
Erosion would be helpful, yes.
Because then it could move we could, with erosion, we would think the mountain moved.
Yeah.
So,
Just do a time lapse thing.
yeah, so maybe,
Speed it up a little bit.
because obviously we're not a person of great faith, so it's
No.
not going to happen that very hour.
No.
But with a mustard seed, with the faith of a mustard seed, it will happen in time.
In time.
6 months later, 1,000 years later.
But if you actually move a mountain, I think I'd love to have some mountain from Colorado up here. I think that would just be fantastic. I think the skiing would be great.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that would be wonderful.
It would be.
Oh, my gosh.
I
I mean,
think-
we could even move it to Ohio because Ohio's a little flat.
It is. Ohio deserves to have a mountain.
I think so.
I think so, too.
They don't have any good ski resorts. How many people really say, I'm going to Ohio? And you're like, Ohio?
What's there to do?
Yeah.
Really?
So-
Just flat.
People in Ohio, get some faith and move the
That's what
mountain.
you need.
Move the mountain.
Colorado may be a little irritated by having one of their mountains taken from one of the Rockies, but
That's true. They
have
do
so much.
They do get a lot of good money
if they
from
do,
that
it's
mountain.
major tourist industry down there. For
So they would have to have the faith of a mustard seed to keep the mountain from moving.
skiing. Now, that's an
or
interesting
moving it back.
predicament. That's an interesting predicament. If you had
That
somebody
is.
who wanted the mountain to stay, wanted to move, and they both had the faith of a mustard seed,
Who gets it?
who
Who wins the toss-up?
it's like the Super Bowl. The team that wins, God actually gave them the victory. So what does that say about the team that loses? I mean, God didn't like that team this year, or I'm not really sure how that works.
And that reminds me last year was it, yeah, it was last year with the whole Tim Tebow thing, oh my gosh. I don't know. I watched the Saturday Night Live skit. For those of you who like Saturday Night Live, look this one up. They did one with Tim Tebow and Jesus kind of appears. And this was the game that they played. Oh man, oh my gosh, what team was it? They were just about ready to play the Patriots right after this one. And I can't remember who it was they played. And Jesus appears and says, I pulled you out in the fourth quarter again. But I can't be there for next week's game. And it just so happens that when they played the Patriots, they lost that year. It was hilarious. But obviously, he had enough faith up until that point.
Up until that point, something must have happened.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It could have been, what I think it is?
What was it?
The Patriots are a good team, and Jesus just didn't have it in him to ruin that good streak. Of course, then the Giants came along and stomp. We got them. But that's because I had the faith of a mustard seed, and I prayed for the impossible. The Giants won. Okay, so
Yay!
go Giants. I give them no credit for this. It was all God. Okay.
Oh, victory! Yes.
See what faith healing gets you? Okay, a lot of good jokes.
Yeah, we kind of diverted just for a second on that.
Yeah.
We apologize.
Yeah, but I mean that does require faith. But here's another problem when you're praying for a person, and this again comes from Matthew, and it says in Matthew 9:2, some men brought to him a paralytic lying on a mat. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralytic, "Take heart, son, your sins are forgiven." Maybe these people that are lying sick, their sins just aren't forgiven yet, and that's why it's not working.
I never thought about that, but that's true in that passage right there. It talks about sins being forgiven, which implies that bad things are happening to you because you're sinful.
Exactly, and they could be sinning in their mind, because while you're laying there sick, and you're a religious person, you're lying there thinking, "Oh God, why are you doing this to me? What did I do?" And you're questioning the Almighty, and maybe that's a sin. And so, because you have to consistently get forgiven for your sins, it's just impossible to heal you.
Could very well be. It's a great out. It really is. That you have these sins that you need forgiven for. I mean, when you look at like faith healing, when people aren't healed, they have to have a reason for why they're not healed. And it's always a win-win with God, because if they're not healed, they'll say, well, either God, it's not that he can't. It's just that either you have some lesson to learn, or you need to be an inspiration to others, or there's always a bunch of different reasons, or God has you wait. He wants you testing you. So no matter really what happens, it's kind of a win for God. It's never like, oh, God failed because I wasn't healed.
Right.
And you sort of wonder when you look at that kind of mentality that nobody ever stops and says, oh, God has failed me. And at least people that I've known who believe in faith healing, they always say, well, God has a purpose. And it just seems too easy to me. It's too much of an out. Just to say God has a purpose. Okay, you weren't healed. That cancer's still spreading, but God has a purpose.
Yeah, you're still in pain.
What purpose is serving by someone being in pain in a hospital? I don't understand.
I don't know the purpose either. And there's another thing that God doesn't do, and it's really sad. He doesn't heal amputees.
Very true.
And
I would love to see that.
I would love you see. I love watching these TV shows. Some of them are mainly just fictional, but I'm sure they're true to something that's happened. and, the blind person comes up and they can see, and the person with crutches comes up and they can walk, and, I mean, all these wonderful things are happening. Well, you won't see an amputee walk up there, are you?
No, I've never
Because
seen an amputee.
I've never seen someone grow back a hand or grow back a leg. Now, what does God have against that?
It makes you wonder, because to me, if you had an amputee and you could actually see like an arm growing, that would be an incredible miracle. I mean, how else could you explain that? It goes completely against science to see a human hand or human arm just kind of
Regenerate.
reappear right in front of you.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
But you don't see that. It's always something you don't see. And, I've read things like from like The Amazing Randy and things about how they have people go into wheelchairs when they're coming up front. They don't really need wheelchairs. They just have like an older man,
Yeah.
put him in a wheelchair, and they say, stand up. And he stands up and everybody applauds.
And yeah,
It's a miracle.
yeah, of course, they don't know what this guy was like beforehand.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, and then you'll have people come up and say this person is deaf, and the faith healer will smack them in the forehead, almost giving them a concussion. And then when they get up off the ground, they'll say, can you hear? Can you hear? And you don't know how deaf this person is. The person may have a little bit. I mean, the person's like screaming at them, can you hear? Can you hear me? I mean, if you have even just a little bit of hearing, you're clinically deaf, but you have a little bit of hearing, and you have a preacher 2 inches away from you screaming at you, can you hear this? And they'll nod, they can hear that, and they pronounce that a miracle. It's like, well, no, he can hear certain sounds. It's like with blind people, if you're blind, if you're legally blind, doesn't mean you can't actually see.
Yeah.
My aunt is legally blind, but
Right.
she can read. She has to use a magnifying glass and stuff and special glasses, but she's legally blind. She can't drive.
Right. Yep.
So
But she hasn't been cured of her
no, ma'am.
condition. I mean, I haven't been cured either, by the way. I need glasses.
Yeah.
So my eyesight hasn't. My eyesight actually has gotten worse.
Well, so is mine. I think it just
So,
goes with
ma-
territory.
yeah, so I don't know. I mean, that is a normal thing of aging too, is that your eyesight's gonna. But why then, if we pray, please God, cure me of this, don't make it any worse, why does it keep getting worse?
It does make you wonder, like, God is supposed to be all loving. This I was always told, that God loves you more than anybody could possibly love you. And so if someone is suffering and they say, please God, cure me, what would be the point of not curing this person? And it makes you wonder, it's like, either God can't do it, or he just doesn't want to? And if he doesn't want to, what does that say about God? It's like, why not? Why not cure this person? Why let this person suffer? Why let this person be in agony? It doesn't make any sense to me.
And there is, I don't know how to make sense of it. Callers, maybe viewers, maybe you can make sense of this. Again, the number is 717-846-5067. Did I say that right? I think I got that one out right.
I need binoculars to see. I'm looking over at that screen. It's like, no, there's no.
No way I'm seeing that
I'm just
one.
gonna get some
So
binoculars
for all
and take a
those
look at
viewers
that.
out there who are legally blind, it's 717-846-5067. And, we said we posed a few questions in the beginning about children. Should these parents go to jail? Do they deserve jail time for basically allowing their child to die? I mean, did they just allow the child to die? And interestingly enough, I didn't have enough time to research everything that this woman's done. But there's a woman called Rita Swan, and she started a group called CHILD, which is Children's Healthcare is a Legal Duty, Inc. And this came about as she watched her 18-month-old die of meningitis and did nothing but pray.
Over there.
And after the death of her child, she was jolted into reality. It was a big jolt to her.
It's very sad that people have to get to that point where they have to have something horrible happen before they realize this is wrong.
Yeah, before they realize, I love my child, what have I done? Well, and of course now she is trying to do something about it. And I don't think she's the only one out there. I know there are other people out there that are trying to make it illegal to not get health care for your child. And you know, we need to hear from our viewers. How do they feel about that? Is this stepping in on somebody's faith? Or is this protecting children? I mean, we do need seatbelts.
Right.
You know, I mean, and especially we have special laws now. If your child is 80 pounds, oh gosh, I don't even remember, 80 pounds, they don't need a seat, a booster seat anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But under a certain height, they need a booster seat for their seatbelt. I mean, there's a lot of laws and regulations against how we belt a child into a car.
Well, look at the Amish. There was this big court case where the highway department wanted the Amish buggies to have a big orange triangle on the back, a reflective triangle, so people could see them at night because they were going on public highways. And they went up against that, saying, no, this is violating our religious traditions. We don't like to have really colorful things. You know, our buggies are black. We don't want the reflectors on. Mm-hmm. And I believe they lost the court case. I think there were several of them across the country. And I think maybe in one, if I remember correctly, they really made a compromise where it had a reflective triangle, but it was like silver. So it's not really a flashy color. Mm-hmm. I think in another situation, they do have to wear the orange reflectors. And the thing with that is, you can say, okay, my religious tradition says that I am not to have anything really showy or colorful or anything. And that's fine, but at the same time, there's the public safety aspect of this. You can't see those buggies at night. They're dark, and you can't see them.
Yeah, that's true.
So you're putting other people in danger because of your religious belief. And the same thing when you're dealing with children. You have a child who has, no way of having, I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this. They can't do anything about the fact that they can't go to the hospital. The parents have to take them to the hospital.
Right, they don't have a choice.
They're totally dependent. They have no choice. And they're suffering, and mom and dad are praying over them. Sincerely, they're praying over them, but this child is in pain, and this child is going to die. And so you're robbing that child of its life simply because of religious belief. And certainly things like that get me angry because when I have this conflict of the idea of people have the right to their religious beliefs, but to me, not if you harm somebody.
Yeah.
You can't harm people with your religious beliefs.
And, well, and we just got a message up. We have to move over. So we're moving over, and it just kind of threw out my train of thought here. So hopefully we're now in the right position. But
I get easily confused. It's like, oh my God, I'm reading something on a screen. Move.
Yeah. So, when it comes to children and they can't make up their mind, and even if they did want to go, and they're lying there in pain. It's painful. I wouldn't even let my cat lie in pain for that long without doing something about it.
It's parental instinct. When you see your child suffering, I cannot wrap my brain around the mindset that if you're watching your child, withering in pain, crying, and you're praying, and and it's something that can be cured. Like if it's appendicitis or what, you can go to the hospital and have that taken care of.
And that's the thing. I mean, if it was an incurable disease, would we be still talking about this? Well, yeah, actually we would.
Yes,
because
we would.
It's a painful thing. And with appendicitis, a lot of times it will get to a point where you won't feel anything anymore.
Right.
And, when it gets to that point, the appendix is most likely burst.
And that poison is now seeping into your system.
Yes. And there's just not much that can be done for you at that point. Yeah. So it may look like, oh, wow, they're getting better. They're not in pain anymore. But it's only going to get worse. And something like appendicitis, I mean, my goodness. You go to the hospital, they take your appendix out, you're good.
That's all you have to do.
There's not really all that many complications. Every surgery has complications. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, people who have appendicitis recover.
It's a very simple, common operation.
And they live full,
happy lives.
Productive, happy lives. And except for this child who wasn't given the chance, wasn't given the opportunity.
But I often wonder, what are the parents' reactions when their child dies? I mean, how do they reconcile this? How do they say, okay, we had everybody in the church praying for, I'll just say little Billy, and Billy died, and we watched him die. He spent hours withering in pain, and we watched him die. What is it? How do you reconcile that? How do you reconcile a loving God who you believe answers your prayers with the death of their child?
I'm imagining that what we're going to get is it's part of God's plan. It's just part of God's plan. This person wasn't supposed to live. The appendix was supposed to burst and kill a person, and it's too bad they have this vestigial organ in their body they don't need anyway that burst and killed them.
Yeah, but what, again, you'd have to ask, well, what type of God is this? What kind of God would give you a child and let you love that child and raise that child until it's like 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, and then
Watch the child
die?
Okay.
What's the point of that? Your God has to be a sadist, really. I mean, I can't think of any other word than a sadist. For you to give you this child and then take it away from you. It would be like me giving my niece a kitten as a present, and then a year or so later beating it to death in front of her and saying, well, this is part of my will.
This is part of my plan.
It's part of my plan.
It'll make you stronger.
It'll make you stronger. It'll make you have, a better person. I mean, she would think I was a monster, and I would be a monster. It's like, why would you do that? But yet it's okay if God does it, because God is the creator of all, and it's fine if God does it. So I don't understand that. I really don't. I wish somebody would, please call and explain that to me, how this works.
And if you can do that, it's 717-846-5067. And again, call in and tell us, are we wrong about this? Should these parents have the right to not seek medical attention? Is that their right? And here's another thing I do want to find out more about these families. Do they prepare for storms? Like, will snowstorms, hurricanes, do they prepare for these things? Or do they pray that or tornadoes, or do they pray that it skips over their house?
It makes you wonder.
I mean, because if they make all these preparations for a storm because you can't pray to God for weather, why are you trusting well, maybe not trusting isn't the right word, because obviously you trust in God and His plan. But why would you make preparations for your house to save your house?
If it's part of God's plan to destroy it.
Exactly. And so I want to know, do they do these things, or do they actually just pray when there's a storm coming that nothing happens to their house?
Even if you're like working out in a field and there's a lightning storm, do you go into the house, or do you think, well, I'm going to stand out here and keep hoeing the crops here, and if God sends a lightning bolt to kill me, so be it. The average person would say, hey, there's lightning, I think I'm going to go inside. But if everything is God's will, you should just be able to stand out in the middle of the field.
And it won't matter.
It won't matter.
It won't matter.
Because it's God's will.
If it's your time to die,
it's all good. It works out.
It's just easy to kill you.
It is. Yeah. He may have wanted you.
Yeah.
I try to imagine what's going on inside the house. So the wife looks out, there's the husband out in the middle of a field hoeing, there's lightning is flashing, she gets hit, so, oh well.
Yeah, I guess it was his time.
It was Zeke's time.
Yeah.
Not much.
I guess I got to go out there and hoe the field now.
It was God's will. I'll be struck by lightning too. I don't know. I'm just going to wander out there.
So, I mean, are these preparations being made so that, that is one thing I have to say. I was so busy looking into this study that was done, and I was so busy looking into just the faith healing part of it, I never thought about what kind of other preparations they might be made that are totally ludicrous.
That's very true.
I
never thought about it either.
I mean, why put on a jacket in the winter if it's God's will that you're going to get sick? You don't need it.
Or why wear a seatbelt? If you're going to die in a crash, you're going to die in a crash.
True.
Or if you're crippled in a crash, that's part of God's will.
Yeah.
I mean, how far can you really take this whole God's will thing? I mean, can you be totally irresponsible, in other words? Can you just say, whatever happens, happens? You know,
I mean, that's like pointing a gun at someone and saying, well, if God doesn't want you dead, the gun will
misfire.
misfire. I mean, isn't that, you know? I mean, and then bang, and the person's dead. Well,
Must have been God's will.
that just stinks, you know?
Could you hold up that in court? God could have stopped it, but he must have wanted him dead. He would have made so the bullet didn't hit him.
Well, you know, and maybe it isn't such a funny thing because maybe they would have just died of a heart attack or something like that.
That's true. Maybe
know,
that was part of the plan. I'm not sure.
But, you know, along comes this kid pointing a gun and God saying, yes, this is so easy. You know?
It was part of God's will.
It's your time to die and I don't have to drown you or give you a heart attack or anything. This is great.
It was your time.
You know? So maybe we're just making it easy. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. It's just the whole idea that, I mean, how are you supposed to discern God's will? That's the thing. You know, when I was growing up, and that's what they would teach you, that God has a plan for your life. He knows when you're going to die. He knows all this, all that's going to happen to you. So how do you know what's God's will? And they would always say, well, pray about it. God will show you the way.
That.
But how much of your own leanings gets into this? You know, it's like, because the way the mind works, it's like you could think that, well, you know, God wants me to do this or this because in your heart is what you like to do. Mm-hmm. You know, but you don't know. And if it doesn't work out, say, well, that wasn't God's will for your life. Well, what is God's will for your life? Well, you have to pray. And it just becomes very repetitive. It's like, okay, I tried this and I thought this was God's will and it didn't work out. Well, you have to keep praying and something else will happen.
Well, yeah, exactly. And on a smaller scale, you know, when we pray for people going in for surgery,
Mm-hmm.
and when they come out and the surgery was good, it's like, thank you, God.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, God, for saving this person. Thank you. Well, to be honest with you, when I'm going into surgery, I want to have a good surgeon.
That's true.
You know, I mean, I don't know if I really want God in on this one. Just give me a good surgeon first. And, you know,
Well, makes sense. You go in, and when you come out and everything's successful, you don't thank the nurses or the doctors. Oh, thank God.
Yeah, exactly.
That I made it through this surgery. It's like, forget about the doctor who spent the past 12 years, you know, becoming you're very, very proficient at what he's doing.
And then not only that, but this past sometimes 8 hours hovering over your open body. You know?
That's right.
You know what I mean? We're not going to bother thanking him because really it was God.
God was directing his hands.
Yeah. And of course, he need not take any responsibility for anything he did in medical school.
No.
Medical school at all.
Not at all.
Because it was all part of God's plan. And if he was obviously meant to pass medical school and meant to become a surgeon.
That's right.
Yeah.
He was given that, I mean, they say it was a gift. He has a gift for being a surgeon. But at the same time, don't take into account all the hours and hours and hours of studying and practicing and everything that went into that. You know, it's like, when you think of a gift, you think it's something somebody just gave you that you didn't really earn. It's a gift. You have the gift for being a good surgeon.
And interestingly enough, though, when we talk about the operating room, obviously, whether we're religious or not, we have all these double checks going on in operating rooms, so that if they use gauze to get some blood out or something like that, they actually have a check system to make sure that they can count all the gauze that they used, so that they don't accidentally sew something back in you. They don't accidentally leave something in you.
That's a very good thing to do.
You know, but if it was God's will for a gauze pad to be left in you, then what's the point? You know, obviously.
All up to God.
Yeah, and you know, why do we keep checking human error? You know, we keep double checking human error so that we don't make this mistake when really we really just don't have anything to worry about, because if the gauze was meant to be there, it's gonna stay there, you know?
I mean, people can say I'm being glib, and you say I could just walk out into traffic, you know, it's God's will to get hit. Because I know someone would probably respond and say, well, you know, don't be stupid. You know, you have to take responsibility. You can't just be haphazard about things. But at the same time, where do you draw that line of what God's will is? You know, you may have something really bad happen to you, and people say, well, it's part of God's plan. Okay, well, should I have not, you know, gone on that rafting trip where I, you know, broke my legs? was that part of God's plan? I get in and end up in the hospital. So it's like, where does that end?
Where do you draw the line
where
and
does he
say,
draw the
okay,
line?
something's got to be done? And it's very interesting too, because how many times has anybody ever said to you, well, of course I'm going to seek medical attention. We made these advancements because of God.
Right. I've heard that too.
You
That,
know?
that God gave us this knowledge
Yeah,
so
and
that we could use it to help others.
yeah, and a little late, God, by the way. I mean, what about all the people before us that were dying of all these simple diseases that are just eradicated now?
It does make you, because I look back at, when you look at the Old Testament, I mean, there are passages in like Leviticus and stuff that tells how to cure leprosy. It has to do with killing doves and sprinkling stuff on the altar and everything. And it was like, and obviously it doesn't work. But you would think that a God, an omnipotent God who's full of love, would have let people know about things that work, instead of like having us find it haphazardly over the centuries, figuring out, oh, this works, this doesn't, this is poisonous, this isn't.
Yeah.
And so we had, all this was by trial and error. All the stuff we have learned is through trial and error. We didn't have God come down. You would think, that God would come down and say, okay, here's some plans. Just basic hygiene.
Well, exactly.
For the last,
I was just about ready to say,
basic hygiene. People
wash
didn't
your
know.
hands, people.
That wasn't until like the 19th century we realized this, that you have to wash your hands because diseases and things get spread.
And I think it did say parts of the Bible that, was it in Leviticus, that everybody had to be, it was about being pure and dirty and.
You were supposed to like touch corpses and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, there
Unclean
was
people,
something
you weren't supposed
about,
to touch them.
I don't know if there's anything about that in there, but it took us an awful long time to find out that if we wash our hands, we could actually prevent a lot of disease.
Yes. And you would think that
It's
somewhere in the Old
amazing.
Testament that would have been mentioned.
Well,
wash your hands after you get out in the field.
Not really in the Old Testament, but what about in the New Testament too? I mean, I would think if I did mention it in the Old Testament and I was God and people aren't following this, I'd say again, if I was Jesus, oh, here, wait, before I do this, let me wash my hands,
Yeah.
I'd keep washing my hands.
I mean, when he was feeding all those of the 5,000, did he say wash your hands first? No, he did not. He just starts handing stuff out. So it's like, that would have been a perfect time to do this. To say,
yeah.
you know what? You should wash your hands. Your hands are filthy. You've been wandering around here in the fields all day.
Here's some soap.
Here's some soap. Wash your hands. Everything will be fine. But just little things like that, why would you say something?
I know.
I don't know.
mean,
It just brings something up.
well, especially because we weren't supposed to eat from the tree of knowledge, so we really weren't supposed to gain this knowledge,
Well, there you go.
technically
That's
speaking,
true.
in the first place. So, but then why, if you don't want someone to gain knowledge, then just tell them what to do.
That's right.
Tell them what to do and say, you need to wash your hands. Don't worry about why, just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, we're talking, these are Bronze Age people. They probably weren't the brightest in the bunch, but still, they can understand simple things. Like you said, God just says, just do it. You don't really have to know the reason why. Just do it. I mean, he's so specific in so many other things in the Old Testament about how to set up an altar, how to slaughter a calf. Everything's, precise. Like when he's talking about
Yeah,
what kind
that's
of
right.
stuff you should put on the altar, he's very specific about where to get the fat from. Like I just saw something on YouTube the other day. It was talking about how he's really specific about the fat around the kidneys, that you burn that and offer it. Why that? Why be so specific? But yeah, you can't say wash your hands. It's like, that's an oversight. It's like,
Before you do
I
this
didn't
slaughtering,
know.
wash your hands before and after.
yeah, after you slaughter this calf and you've got covered with blood, wash your
and
hands.
you get your fat and stuff, wash your hands. Before, during, and after. Let's do it that way.
Maybe he's too busy with the list. He's coming down and saying, okay, take the fat from the kidneys, put it on the altar. If you only forgot the whole wash the hands thing and say, that should be good, just send it down.
Yeah. I mean,
10 Commandments didn't say brush.
brush your teeth,
Brush your
right,
teeth,
right. I mean, I
Why?
love watching these movies. I love watching these older movies. They take place in the 1700s, and their teeth are so bright and white. I'm like, all the coffee I drink, that's just not happening, okay? and I'm thinking to myself, wow, they barely even have the toothpaste we have right now.
Bright white teeth.
Perfect
caps.
and they don't have the dentist that we have now, but bright white teeth. There you go.
Bright white teeth.
Well, actually, many people lost their teeth.
Yes, they
If
did.
they lived that long,
Yeah.
and
Tooth decay was a major problem back then.
I think people were pretty smart back then. And if you gave them a simple formula and said, if you put these substances together, you're going to get this great toothpaste, and you can brush your teeth and keep them for a little bit longer.
Yeah. Even bathing more than once a year would have been, something you could have added on to that. Because most people didn't really bathe. It wasn't really like maybe their once a year bath.
Yeah, there are people out there that don't believe in soap. And,
I did not know that.
they don't believe in
I think
soap.
I've met some of them.
You probably have. They're probably the guy standing behind you or the woman standing behind you in the grocery store, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I got to get out of here.
Let me introduce you to soap and water.
Yeah, and there's not 1 ounce of soap in their cart, and you're thinking, wait a minute, you're missing something here.
Makes you want to go buy it for them.
I know, exactly.
Obviously, you were not included on this, how this works. Soap is wrong. God, why do you have that filth on your body?
I had a family member who was working in a high position and had a member of his staff that did not that had a excessive body odor. So he calls him into the office and says, you really have this body odor and it's offending. And he said, I don't believe in soap. And what do you what do you say to that?
I mean, when you say you don't believe in soap, is it like he doesn't believe it actually exists?
I know.
Or he just doesn't like to wash
I don't know.
It's like, I don't believe in that. Oh, here's some Dove. Oh, that's what that is. It's soap. Okay,
Yeah.
use it.
I don't even know what you say to that. It's like, what?
You don't believe in soap. It's not in the Bible. I don't see nothing about soap.
I mean,
what in this day and age, how could you say you don't believe in using soap? I mean, I don't even, where would you even get that? Where does that come from?
I don't know. I don't even know how you can even come to that. I mean, I just don't know.
Maybe a little too much work. I don't know. It's just.
I mean, we've obviously gotten our society to a point where we're a bit more pleasant to the olfactory nerves.
Yeah.
And
it is.
And yet people come along and say, oh, no, I'm not going to use that perfume stuff. Well, fine, then here's some Dove, non-sensitive, Here's
Use
the
this every day.
odor-free stuff, but it cleans you just as well, I mean, I don't know why people come to this conclusion. Again, it's just part of God's plan, I think.
We kind of strayed off topic.
We did.
We're not talking about soap and hygiene. So
Yeah,
not
we're-
with faith healing.
Yeah, well, it all goes together. I
does,
mean,
it does.
do the faith healers, do they wash their hands? Because let's face it, if the faith healers are not washing their hands, they're adding to the infection,
Yes, they are.
and they're adding to the problem instead of taking away. And so you have this compromised immune system lying in front of you, and you don't wash your hands. And now you're getting all these germs on them, and maybe they have open sores on their body or some kind of cut or something like that. You're getting all these germs causing more infection, and you just ultimately killed the person.
Yes, you did.
I mean, people die from infections all the time.
I've seen things with the faith healers. I've seen videos on TV of these faith healers saying, you're all being cured, and people like tossing their medicine up on the stage. I've actually seen that happen. And
I haven't seen that one, but that's
that's
cool.
extreme. The people are saying you're being healed and you don't need that blood pressure medication. You don't need this medication. And they're tossing it away, or they're tossing canes away and things. And I wonder what the aftermath of that is. It's like, do they die afterwards? They get horribly sick? And what does the faith healer do with all this medication that he has sitting in front of him by the altar that they've all thrown up there? It's like,
I guess resell it on the market.
resell on the marketplace.
Great blood pressure medication, great Valium, right here, come and get it, I healed the person, so now I got their Valium, I mean, maybe they sell it.
I don't know. It makes you wonder.
It does. It does. And you know what? We are actually coming to the end of our program. We did get off topic on faith healing a little bit, but we had fun.
It was fun. Yes, it was.
We had fun doing it. The only problem is, we really do need your calls. Write it down, pin it up on your refrigerator, 717-846-5067. We'll be back on next Tuesday. And I think that is what, October 23rd?
I don't know offhand.
Yeah, I think it's October 23rd. We're going to be back on. And of course, we're getting close to Halloween.
Yes.
So there's a lot of interesting topics we can do for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
I want to remind our viewers, we also have, go to our site, PA Nonbelievers. We also have Facebook. Usually it gets displayed on the screen. There we go, panonbelievers.org. Drop us a line, drop us a message. Are we, do you want to see a topic covered? Is there something you want us to talk about or research for you or anything like that? Let us know. Let us know how we're doing on a show. Give us a comment, even if you think it's a bunch of hooey.
We accept hate mail.
We do.
We will accept hate mail.
Yes.
It shows that you're watching.
And if you do happen upon us and say, wow, these people are pretty cool, I really want to check them out, go to PA Nonbelievers. You can click around and you can find the events. We actually have a button there that says events. And you can find out the various meetings we have all over, and you can come join us at one of our meetings. We already had our state conference. We already did a lot of fun things, but more fun starts again in the spring when the weather gets better over the weekends. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we have these great meetings. They're a lot of fun to come to, so come out and see us.
Join the fun.
Yes. We really do have a lot of fun. I was thinking, too, now, for the next show, October 23rd, possibly for this one. And hopefully our viewers will join us for this one because we'll do something with ghosts and goblins, maybe.
That'd be interesting.
I still talk to people who believe in the paranormal, and it doesn't seem to have anything to do with religion, the belief in the paranormal.
But it's a supernatural thing. I mean, there's all kinds of very popular programs out right now that have to deal with the supernatural and weird creatures like Bigfoot and stuff.
Yeah, and so we can do a show on that and really discuss some of those topics. But there are churches that actually have Halloween parties.
But it's not really is it the typical Halloween thing? Because I think
don't
churches
know.
really wouldn't have much to do with devils and goblins and.
Well, no, they wouldn't. Maybe not. But then that's not really Halloween. I mean, how are you going to get kids to come if they can't dress in what they want?
Well, you could I think I've
Halloween
heard some
party.
churches they call it like Harvest Festival.
Okay,
And you dress up
okay.
like angels, really exciting, or something extremely benign,
And this is a great time for you to think about, how you feel about that. Should churches be having any kind of Halloween party? Should we have anything to do with Halloween? It's just it's a fun time of the year, or is it not? Maybe it's not to some people, the bats and spiders.
Well, some people get really spooked out with Halloween. It's just it's the devil's night, and I mean, in fundamentalist churches, a lot of them they just think that's terrible, going out and
That's
doing that
true.
kind of stuff.
That's true.
That's a topic you discuss about the evils of Halloween. So why some people think it's evil and all
Yeah,
that
that's
kind
a
of
great
stuff.
one. And you know what? We're going to have to say goodbye. I think we're down to just a few seconds on our show, and we're going to have to give everybody we're down to 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
30 seconds. The
So I
old
think-
countdown.
Yeah, 30, 29. Okay, well, you know what? Let's just say bye, everybody. Come join us again, October 23rd. We can't wait to see you here, 6 p.m. It's going to be another great show, another great topic, and you're going to be happy you joined us. And I think that's about it.
That's
I think
about
that,
it.
Yeah, I think
we
that wraps
pretty
it
much
up.
covered it. You should have called.